We are essentially tracing the evolution of Roads Must Fall in Oxford, and thinking about the movement itself within the space that is the university, how the university either applies pressure to or exerts particular types of force on movements like Roads Must Fall, and then our reflections for the futurity of, anti-oppression movements within university spaces and the activists, whether they are men or women who are behind them.
Our contribution in talking about the Roads Must Fall movement, it talks about the way in which our participation in that movement, be it in 2015, 16 or 2020, sought to expose the reality of Oxford as a seat of empire, as a violent institution, as a violent imperial institution. It also talks about how Roads Must Fall tried to really break down this fallacy of the University of Oxford being this seat of higher learning that kind of accommodates all people based on their scholarly merit, and talks about the fact that actually as black students participating in movement building and resistance building, that actually wasn't seen as a scholarly contribution because of the racialisation of the group as black. So it brings into question fundamental questions around what universities stand for, what research universities stand for, what makes Oxford so special, and actually rooting that specifically in its imperial past. So it does that in one sense. It also tries to speak quite honestly about the way in which internally within movement spaces, some of the weapons of empire and some of the violence of institutions like Oxford can be internalised within movement spaces and actually create unsafe spaces in which black women organised particularly can operate and move and survive. So it tries to take this relatively balanced approach between recognising what institutions like Oxford can do in terms of excluding students, in terms of creating hostile environments for students that they have to then resist against, whilst also having the perspective of how the hostility can work within movement spaces.